The Indian government, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi at its helm, has been coordinating an effective response with all stakeholders, particularly the governments at the state level, to combat the COVID-19 pandemic in India. At every step, Prime Minister Modi has remained at the forefront when it comes to assisting state governments in presenting a united and well-equipped front to safeguard the Indian population against the threat of the pandemic. However, social media feeds and many news channels have been flooded with reports rife with allegations that India's COVID-19 response has been lopsided, that the central government has been somewhat lax in the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. But how about we look at the bigger picture? Since September 2020, the Prime Minister has chaired no less than 14 meetings with the state governments to coordinate and assist a nationwide response with regard to COVID-19. Be it the provision of essential supplies or to bolster morale against the deadly virus, the Prime Minister has been in constant touch with state governments and numerous empowered groups. His sole aim has been a better and more resolute defense against COVID-19. Consider as an example Prime Minister Modi's meeting with various states on March 17, 2021. Noting the rising number of cases and the particularly high case positivity in Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh, Prime Minister Modi had raised the alarm around the emerging second peak. In the same meeting, the Prime Minister had also mentioned to raise awareness for COVID-19 pandemic protocol through effective governance at the local level. It is interesting to note that even in March, the states had been warned by the Prime Minister, no less, to identify and contain the COVID-19 mutants or the variants of concern as we know them today. Moreover, the need to ramp up testing and the scaling up of an efficient referral network was also flagged. Now this was just one meeting. Consider the seriousness when over a dozen such meetings have been held over the course of just 8 months. Prime Minister Modi, since the time cases started multiplying in the country, has stressed on the need to test, track and treat in order to achieve maximum efficiency when it comes to flattening the curve of new infections. Now, let us talk numbers. Back when the virus first reared its ugly head in the country in January 2020, only one government lab was conducting tests. As of last month, over 2,450 labs are testing for COVID-19. As of May 5, 2021, a cumulative 296.77 million tests had already been conducted, with 1.9 million samples tested on May 5 itself. Would this have been possible without the Union government's intervention through central agencies like ICMR? One of the most significant factors regarding India's response towards the pandemic has actually been a coordinated approach in tandem with central, state, local governments along with the people of India. This has primarily been due to the Prime Minister Modi-led central government's Team India approach. That is, over the course of the pandemic, any and every assistance required by the states has been taken a note of and then acted upon. Just as an example, even when additional requirements from states for ventilators were only received in April this year, close to 10,000 ventilators have already been allocated and over 3,800 already dispatched. Is that not a lightning-fast response? On several separate occasions, the Minister for Health and Family Welfare has also chaired meetings with the relevant ministers from state government. Similar meetings have not stopped. On April 4, Prime Minister Modi again reiterated the importance of the fivefold strategy of testing, tracing, treatment, COVID-19 appropriate behavior and vaccination. Just 4 days later, the Prime Minister asked Indian states to put in all efforts on war footing and check the rate of new infections. He again reiterated the importance of focusing in micro-containment zones in an effort to check the spread of the virus. As recently as May 6, Prime Minister Modi again reviewed the public health response to the pandemic. He took stock of the on-ground situation with respect to states and also at the district level. In this meeting with empowered groups, the Prime Minister again stressed on the need to apprise states of the importance of vaccination, and the rate for the same should not be allowed to slow down. He asked that citizens should be facilitated despite the lockdowns in place when it came to vaccination. In fact, it is under Prime Minister Modi's leadership that India has remained ahead in the number of people it has vaccinated when compared to the rest of the world. The central government has made the provision of more than 17.35 crore doses of COVID-19 vaccines shared to states completely free of cost. Another heartening aspect is the numerous interactions that Prime Minister Modi has had with several stakeholders in order to ensure that every single is included when we look at capacity building. In addition to the numerous meetings he has had with governors of states, public health officials, heads of Indian missions around the world and stakeholders from various sectors, we have seen the Army, Navy and Air Force pressed into service in order to assist the states, be it logistically or with supplies. These Indian forces have worked round the clock to ensure critical supplies like medical oxygen are provided to the state governments in need. Even the railways has been ferrying oxygen tankers to various states using the roll-on roll-off service. Interestingly, Prime Minister Modi chaired a meeting with the Chief of Defence Staff on April 26 to take stock of the armed forces' preparedness to aid the nation's fight against the pandemic. Just 2 days later, on April 28, the Prime Minister reviewed the operations of the Indian Air Force in assisting the country in these times of the pandemic. Similarly, the Prime Minister chaired a meeting to review COVID-19 related initiatives by the Indian Navy and took stock of the beds being earmarked for treating civilians in naval hospitals. The Prime Minister has also been in constant touch with stakeholders when it comes to sectors supplying essential commodities like oxygen, medicines and vaccines. On May 2, Prime Minister Modi took stock of usage for medicinal oxygen as part of the drive to come up with more innovative ways to quickly ramp up the number of oxygenated beds. This involved setting up temporary hospitals near plants with a capacity to supply medicinal oxygen. He also noted that the state governments were being constantly motivated to set up more such facilities. Similarly, he discussed the possibility of converting nitrogen plants to those producing oxygen in order to make medicinal oxygen available amidst high requirements. In the same regard, the Prime Minister has met with vaccine manufacturers from across the country on April 20 and urged them to continuously scale up production capacities in order to vaccinate the people of India in the shortest possible time. But these humongous efforts of the Prime Minister Modi-led government have not been only within India in order to ensure that the best care is afforded every Indian in need. Telephonic and virtual meetings have been held with various heads of states like American President Joe Biden, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and Prime Minister of the United Kingdom Boris Johnson. It was the result of this approach that the embargo on essential raw materials needed for vaccine production was promptly lifted by America, along with its agreement to support India's proposal to waive intellectual property rights on vaccine production and creating a significantly open global market for COVID-19 vaccines. Over the last year, the Government of India has adopted a whole-of-government approach where all possible assistance has been provided to state governments in order to equip the nation in this ongoing battle. Given the proactive approach and swift decision-making by the Union government, accountability for all lapses can easily be shifted onto the centre. However, simple numbers can easily rubbish such claims. It therefore becomes of paramount importance that local responses, particularly by states witnessing an exponential rise in new infections, are further intensified. The central government has already been functioning in overdrive, but in case of a fast-spreading pandemic, preemptive measures and a coordinated effort have arisen as the only saviors. Until next time, do remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and get vaccinated if you are eligible. Don't forget to like and subscribe.